Hey, we're live, I think. Yay, we're
Yay!
live.
Awesome. So what'd you think of the book?
Well, this one got some stuff went down at the end there. That was kind of crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
and then I was kind of surprised that Perrin was barely in it at all.
Yeah, I don't think I realized that before I started reading it. I actually don't think I even realized it until I was like more than halfway through. I was like, wait, what about Parrot in this book
Yeah,
at all?
once I got to
But
that
I'm sure he'll
halfway.
he'll be in the next one, I'm sure.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, he's definitely already in the next one. I already got like 100 pages into
You
the next
started.
one. But yeah,
All
it's
right.
kind of crazy because yeah, I got halfway through and then I thought like, well, Perrin hasn't been in this the whole time. He'll probably show up pretty soon now that it's like halfway through. And then he still didn't show up and still didn't show up, and it got to like almost the end, and I'm like, wow, has Perrin even been in this book? It's kind of weird.
Yeah. I mean, there are definitely a lot of storylines to juggle, and if it was going to make this book even longer, then it's probably a good thing it wasn't in
Yeah,
it because
it
it
did
was
get to
still
be
pretty
a
long.
very long book. It's crazy. Although it's
Hmm.
not that much longer than the next one, and yet it's so much thicker somehow.
Oh, is it really?
Yeah, it's weird.
I don't have the next one yet. I ended up ordering it from Book Depository last night. They had the next one and the one after for like really cheap, so I ordered it. Not Depository, Book Outlet. I always get those two confused all the time. So I don't have it yet, but I need to. I think I'm gonna actually get it from the library so I can start reading it before my physical copy comes in, because I have it on audiobook anyways. I just like to have the physical copy for reference and stuff.
Makes sense, yeah.
Yeah. Is he in the next one? Have you gotten to him yet?
Yeah, he's at the very beginning of the next one, even. Like as soon as you open up, it's like parents making up for lost screen time
Time.
or something like that.
That's funny. Yeah. Yeah. So a lot of stuff happened in this book. As far as like pacing, I feel like this book, I'd say the middle 20, like 25 to 50% was kind of slow. Like I was feeling it. There's a lot of traveling and it was kind of slogging along a little bit. But after the 50% mark, things picked up pretty quick and things happened. A lot of things happened.
Yeah, I kind of felt the same way. I thought that in particular, a lot of Rand's portion of the book were kind of just like, this is happening, hooray. Like, and it
Yeah.
kind of felt like it was slogging along. But I thought that Siuan Sanche's chapters were really interesting, and Nynaeve and company's
Yes.
chapters were very interesting as well, pretty much the whole time.
That's really funny because I thought, I don't know, the part of the story where Nynaeve and Elaine are with the menagerie has like never really been one of my favorites. So Elaine and Nynaeve sections of the books were kind of slow for me. I like the Rand sections because I like learning more about the Aiel culture, but I could see why that would be a little slow. But yeah, it's more Nynaeve and Elaine who like frustrate me, and I like didn't enjoy those sections, but I liked Rand's sections.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that the whole menagerie section was really one of my favorites either. Um,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know.
But I mean, my favorite part about their section was when we got to the point where Brigetti gets pulled out of the dream world and is like now in the world in the flesh.
Mm.
Like that was, she obviously becomes like a really big part of the story because Elaine had to bond her as a warder, which was like crazy. Like I didn't even think that she would know how to do that. And like it's not really common to have a woman warder or to do it without permission. So like all of that was so interesting.
Yeah, or to even just be accepted and bond a warder.
Yeah, you're not allowed to do that either.
Yeah, I thought that that whole thing about the whole story about, oh, last time someone bonded a warder when they were only accepted, that all this stuff happened and blah, blah, blah. And I felt like that was an interesting kind of example of just how different an accepted and a full Aes Sedai are. kind of, because we do see things like that throughout the story. Like, we do get the sense that there is a big difference, because even though an accepted is pretty much about to become an Aes Sedai, there's still, like, the fact that they aren't is it actually a huge deal. And so
and it still takes a long time after they get to I mean, it depends on the person, but usually, like, it takes a long time of being an accepted, be an Aes Sedai. And it's so easy to forget that our characters, like, aren't really Aes Sedai because they're pretending to be Aes Sedai all the time.
This is true, because yeah, I mean, you think that, I mean, it kind of makes me wonder what specifically it is that they learn in that, like, by the time they become a full Aes Sedai, that makes them, like, completely not the same thing anymore, practically, like, once they are. Because we also kind of get more sort of inklings throughout this book of Egwene having lied about being a sister of a Green Aja, being, like, something that was a really bad lie to have come up with. But even though, like, nothing, like, she hasn't like, she doesn't really suffer any, like, huge consequences at that point, but it's like, at the same time, we keep getting that throughout this book. Like, people's reactions to that are kind of like, that's weird, why would she do that? It's horrible.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's like really not a good thing to lie about. And I think part of Egwene's situation is that she's getting a lot closer to the wise ones, and she's worried about how they're going to react when they find out that she lied to them.
Which is pretty insane.
Yeah, I'm sure they'll find out at some point.
Yeah, and the fact that Brigitte, or whatever her name is kind of trying to hold it over Elaine, that, like, I'm gonna just, you know, if you don't do what I say, like, I'm just gonna tell them that you're only accepted and you did this, basically. And
Brigitte is, like, one of my favorite characters. She is really funny, and she's just she's very much like a manly woman. Like, she's used to have been, like, she's used to being around, like, men and war and all that kind of stuff. So she's got, like, this really, like, dirty sense of humor, and she's hilarious. I love her, and I'm so excited that she's, like, part of the bigger story now.
Yeah, me too. I like her. I think she's very interesting and very different from a lot of our main characters thus far.
Yeah, and I mean, so Elaine and Nynaeve, they fight a lot. They, like, bicker, and that drives me insane. It's always been really annoying. And now that they have Brigitte in there, she kind of mediates between them and helps them to not fight all the time, which I appreciate as a reader.
Yeah, this is true.
So, what did you think about when Rand followed Aviendha out into the snowstorm? What did you think about that whole scene?
Yeah, I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out how I feel about Aviendha as a character, because she's so interesting, but at the same time, she's kind of like Fail kind of was at first, where she seems kind of like, hey, I want to get what I want, so I'm, like, being pushy kind of thing. But at the same time, I think she's also still pretty awesome.
Yeah, I like her. She's one of my favorite characters, and her relationship with Rand is probably my favorite out of the various Rand relationships. So I was excited to get to that point. I've been looking forward to that scene for a long time. What I didn't remember, though, so I remembered that they, you know, he followed her and that they, like, slept together and all that stuff. Which, by the way, when he was like, so obviously, like, now we have to get married, and she was like, no, we're not getting married. That made me laugh so hard. But I remembered all that, but I didn't remember that when they tried to leave, that they were actually in Shanchan, and that there were Shanchan people there trying to, like, figure out what this gateway thing was. So that was a nice, like, surprise. So this book is the first book where I'm starting to have things that I don't remember happening. So that was, like, really exciting for me.
Yeah, I remember that part too. That was kind of weird. And how they kind of try to save that one Shanchan lady, but it's
she didn't really want to be saved.
Well, yeah, because at that point they don't. which is kind of crappy. Like, I kind of hope that the Sul'dan gets stopped at some point because all the stuff that they're doing, just kind of kidnapping women who can channel and and just doing all of that.
Making them into slaves, basically.
Yeah, because they pretty much like treat them like shit, and it's kind of horrible. Just the fact that they actually change the way that these women think to the point where they wouldn't try to escape or anything. Yeah, I mean, it's crazy.
Yeah. So in this book, Matt like was a real shining star for me. Like, I don't know, usually Matt is annoying to me and I don't like, but it's really, I don't know, an adult or reading it from an older perspective, like I just like his point of view a lot more. I just think he's so funny, and even though he's kind of a rascal, he's still like tries to do the right thing and stuff. So I am really enjoying his chapters, and I really liked that in this book he got so involved in that battle in Cairhien to against the Shido, and seeing how his like battle knowledge was like seeping out was so cool.
Yeah, I think that he's becoming one of my favorite characters, which is kind of weird because I felt like for the first 3 books or something, he was not in it as much as the other main characters, and I kept kind of thinking, well, I don't know. But yeah, but I think that he is getting to be more and more interesting of a character in a lot of ways.
Yeah. Yeah, and I feel so bad for him. He was like trying to get away from Rand, and he just kept running into the battle. He's like, why won't these people leave me alone? But then when he sees that like people are actually in trouble and that he could make a difference, he steps up and does the right thing and helps them, and then ends up getting just like tangled in it all over again.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
So, oh, go ahead.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to talk about Siuan a little bit. And at the very beginning of the book, it opens basically with her pledging to Gareth Bryn that she's going to like work for him for I don't even know how long, and then they just turn around and like leave, and Min is just like, oh my god, I can't believe you made me break this oath, I'm gonna go to hell. And she's like, oh, we're not breaking it, we'll come back, we'll just do that later. I thought that was so funny. And the fact that he was able to track them all the way to Salidar, and they were all so shocked when he showed up, that was so funny.
No, yeah, it was pretty funny. I thought that, yeah, Siuan Sanche's chapters were really interesting throughout this book, just because, I mean, she doesn't have any channeling abilities anymore, but she has to, like, figure out what to do and all of that.
Yeah, and how to still, like, stay involved with them, and because she's trying to, you know, find something that she can stay passionate about so that she can stay alive.
Yeah, exactly. Because that's the secret. You have to find something that you want to do as much as you wanted to channel and all of that.
Yeah.
And so at first she was kind of fueled by revenge at the end of the last book where she's like, okay, what I want to do as much as I want to channel is get revenge on the people who stilled me. But now it's kind of staying involved besides just trying to do that anyway.
Yeah. Well, I think revenge is still part of that because she's trying to convince them. Well, I mean, she wants to be involved so that they can defeat Elaine. But then there's also that part where she told them that the Red Aja set up, what's his name, Logain, to be a false dragon, which is totally a lie. But she knew by telling them that that would get them on board for like attacking the Red Aja, basically. And of course, they don't think that she can lie because it just doesn't occur to them that now that she can no longer channel, she's not bound by the oaths. And so they just totally believe her, even though it's a straight up lie.
Yeah, that's pretty funny. I agree.
Yeah.
And I kept thinking that Min, because Min is in a lot of those same chapters too, and I was really entertained by her in the past couple of books. And I think it's kind of like I was totally thinking that instead of being in love with Rand, she was going to be in love with who is it who she keeps being embarrassed? Is it Galad or not Galad? What's his freaking Gawain? No, I think it's Galad. How she
it was Galad, yeah.
Yeah, she keeps being embarrassed that that he has to see her in her girly getup that's completely not her. And I totally started thinking they were gonna end up together or something.
Yeah.
But then she starts being in love with Rand, and I'm like, okay, where'd that come from? That's kind of,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah. What did you think of her, like, finally telling Elaine that there's going to be 3 of them?
Yeah.
Did you see that coming, or did you know?
Elaine seems to really have no clue. And so she was kind of just going, oh crap, like, really? Because I guess Elaine kind of thought she was going to have Rand to herself just because she had that discussion with him and whatnot.
Mm-hmm.
But
yeah, there's going to be 3 of them. And I think it's funny that Elaine is like, oh, don't worry, I've got my friend Aviendha watching over him. And it's like, yeah, watching over him. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, totally.
Little does she know. Yeah, that's so
funny. Exactly. Yeah, I definitely thought that was a funny scene.
Yeah, there were so many funny scenes in this book. I laughed so many times.
I think it's kind of weird how in either this book or the previous one, I think it was the previous one, where Rand has that weird dream where Elaine and Min are both being like all flirting with him and whatnot, and he wakes up and he goes, oh yeah, it was the previous book, and he wakes up and he goes like, that's weird. I don't really feel that way about either of them. And then it turns out that both of them are going to be people who he's going to be in love with and whatnot. Yeah. So I think that's kind of funny.
Yeah, he was not expecting it.
Yeah, definitely not. Is anyone ever really?
That's true. Yeah, that's true. I was really excited to see Morgase a few times in this book. Her like realizing that something's not right and that she can't think clearly was really awesome. Like, I'm glad that she came to her senses and was able to get away, and that starts like a whole new storyline that I am excited to start, because I really like Morgase as a character. She's just really strong-willed and just like a smart woman. And I mean, it's so cool that their like little country has always just had queens and stuff. So I really like Morgase and that storyline.
Yeah, she's one of my favorite characters too. I think I was definitely also really excited when by the end she had gotten away and she was like figuring out what to do about getting like her kingdom back from Mr. Douchey Pants. And yeah, I was totally thinking like when they had all heard that she had died, I was kind of thinking like, no, she couldn't have. That's not possible. Yeah. That would have happened on scene. Like that, that probably wouldn't have, like, if anything, more likely either she had gotten away or she was just being kept prisoner or something instead. Like, I don't think she's dead. So I was really excited when by the end, like, she is still alive. And I'm like, oh, thank God. Like, yeah, it really does set it up for such an exciting storyline and all of that. So yeah, I'm definitely really excited about that as well.
Yeah, yeah. So what did you think about Nynaeve, like, basically capturing Mogadine? I think that's how you say it. Mogadine. At the end of the book with when they were in Teleron Riyadh, and she just like imagines that there's an idom on her and it like actually worked.
Yeah, I thought I was kind of amazed that actually worked. Because yeah, some of those scenes with Nynaeve and Mogadine are some of my favorite scenes, I think, in that book, because I mean, it kind of starts off with like Mogadine threatening her, being like, every time you come back to Teleran Riyadh, you're gonna be a horse from now on, like all this stuff. Like she was totally just like threatening her, all kinds of things. But Nynaeve still kind of went, well, I'm not taking any of your crap today. Like,
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, Nynaeve can be really frustrating sometimes, but at the same time, she's also pretty badass sometimes.
Yeah, she's really badass. I don't know.
Yeah.
She almost seems like more and more of my favorite character, like with each book. I like her
really?
more. Yeah.
That's awesome. She used to be one of my favorite characters. This time around, she's kind of grating on my nerves, but I'm sure in later books, she'll win her place back as one of my favorites. But I mean, she's really smart and she's really strong in the power. But I guess when it comes to Teleran Riyadh, the reason why it worked is because I'm not sure how much they've really like explained it, but there have been characters in the series that will say that, you know, using the power in Teleran Riyadh is good. You don't need the power to do things in Teleran Riyadh. Like sometimes if you know how to manipulate Teleran Riyadh, that can be stronger than using the power. And so that's basically what Nynaeve did, is she manipulated the world and was able to like think something into existence, and it totally works. And I thought that was really cool.
Yeah, it's kind of like lucid dreaming. Like if you just like, you can control what happens in it, and then you can get away from like the giant slug or whatever it is. Like, yeah, so it's kind of weird.
But the Teleran Riyadh still has like its own set of rules and stuff, which I just think is so interesting. It's like one of my favorite parts of the series is this dream world, but it's kind of ruined me for like other dream worlds in other books. Like they just are never done as well, or sometimes I feel like they're like trying to copy this one. I've read like one series where the dream world was very similar, and I was like, okay. But then other times, like when I read not necessarily dream worlds, but people talking to each other in dreams and things like that, I always compare it to the series, and usually the series wins. So it's like ruined me for other books, which is funny.
Yeah, I mean, it is kind of interesting how many books out there have a dream world kind of thing, but it's still not quite the same thing.
Yeah, it's super unique. That's another thing I was thinking is Balefire, like that type of magic, the idea of like erasing somebody to where you undo the things that they already did. I feel like that's a pretty unique idea. Like, I don't think I've read any type of magic like that before.
I don't think
so. I mean, we get an example of that at the beginning of the book when Matt, gets slobbered on by the Darkhounds, and then Rand uses Balefire to basically erase them, and so then he's not like dead right away because Moiraine's able to heal him in time or whatever, but it basically like erased some of the things that they did. So that was kind of a like sneak peek, I guess, into like what was coming up, because at the end of the book, obviously that Balefire plays a big role. That was another thing I didn't remember when I was reading this. Like obviously because I've read further books, like I knew that Matt and Aviendha didn't die, but when I got to that part, I was like, wait, what? They died? Oh yeah. And then I remembered that he was going to use Balefire and it was going to make them come back to life. Way to keep us on our toes.
Definitely. This cat keeps moving like it's funny. She's in a different position like every
She's been cleaning herself.
Yeah, I don't know. Like she keeps sitting up, laying down, like all kinds of stuff. I don't know.
Can't stay comfortable. I see that book, the orange Priori book, on your shelf behind you.
Yeah, those are my book expo books that I haven't organized in any particular way yet because I have yet to film a book haul. So they're just sitting there for now.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's so much bigger. Like that one's so much bigger than the other ones. It's kind of insane.
Yeah, it's an arc, right?
Yeah.
It boggles my mind. I'm just like surprised that they would print arcs that were that big. But I
Yeah,
mean,
I know.
you
It's
gotta
kind
have
of
arcs, so yeah. I've never seen an arc that big before.
mm-hmm. I don't
Let's
think I
see
have
what
either.
else interesting happened. I'm just looking through my chapter summaries a little bit.
Oh, I think I did see an arc that big before. Somebody once had an arc of winter before it came out, the last Lunar Chronicles book, and that was about,
Oh, really?
yeah,
I bet that was huge.
yeah, that was huge. Someone else.
Because that book they did like the really thin paper to like try to keep it, at least in the final copy, to try to keep it not looking so big.
Yeah.
Oh, so were you surprised when Matt's girlfriend Melindra like tried to kill him?
No, not really.
Not really. That's so funny. I have been looking forward to that scene like this whole book ever since he got with her. I was like, oh yeah, she's a dark friend. I can't wait for her to try to kill him. uh, I did end up doing, I think I mentioned on the last live stream at the end that I was thinking about doing like a book diary for this book. I ended up doing it. I mean, it's not exactly what I had originally thought, but basically I took the 4 different sections that we set up for the Goodreads discussion boards, and after each like section I sat down and like talked through all of my thoughts from that section, and it was really hard to make because it was so much footage, but it ended up, I really like it. I'm hoping it is like well received. Like if people, watch it and like it, then I'll probably keep doing it, but it was definitely a lot of work. So if like nobody watches it, then I probably won't. And I'm not saying for you to go watch it because we're getting all of our thoughts out here, but we'll see if I end up.
Yeah, when I got home yesterday, I saw it that it was up and it's like 40 minutes or something.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah. Because I try to keep like each section less than 10 minutes. So I do like a non-spoiler review at the beginning, and the non-spoiler review is like 6 minutes, really. I have a couple minutes where I'm like explaining how I set up the video, which is, I don't know, probably not a good sign when you have to like explain the setup of the video. I did. And then I have like 4 sections. So it's basically like 5 videos in one, and it was a lot of work. But it was really fun to put together. So hopefully people like it. We'll see. I use these chapter summaries to help me talk through those. So I feel like I've talked about this book so much already, but I haven't talked about it with you until today. Yeah, so Rand's battle with the Shido took a few chapters, but I really like those chapters. I don't know, when I read it when I was growing up, I feel like it taught me a lot about battle tactics. Not that I'm ever going to use that knowledge or whatever, but because of how well it's done in the series and how like well talked through the different tactics are and stuff, and like why you would do one thing over another, especially from Matt's point of view, I just feel like I learned so much from them, which is funny.
That is true. I agree. It does definitely go through some of that was really interesting.
Mm-hmm. And I was surprised to find that Matt ended up being the one who killed Culloden. I didn't remember that was going to happen, and I don't think that they even like they set up the battle so that Matt was battling with Culloden, like happened to be there in the same at the same time. But I don't think that actually like it was on screen when he killed Culloden. I don't think. Do you remember?
I don't think it was either.
Yeah, I think it just like cut to after the battle when they were like celebrating. So that was surprising. Well, I guess we haven't talked about What happens to Moiraine at the end?
Yeah.
What did you think about that?
Well, that was pretty insane because honestly, I would almost just say she's not really dead if it weren't for the bond having been broken.
Yeah.
Yeah, so then, because it seems kind of weird that she would die because I feel like she still has a lot that she could do in the series, and it's
Right.
still fairly early in the series, and so it seems kind of weird. Um, but then, yeah, but then the bond was broken, so I don't know how she would have survived unless she deliberately did something so that the bond would be broken so that Lan wouldn't feel the need to go after her, or that or she wants to make sure everyone thinks that she's dead for some reason, but more likely like she really died, but I have no idea. I'm still just not gonna accept it. I have no idea.
Yeah, I'm definitely in denial. When I very first read the series on my first read, because Moiraine's like one of my favorite characters, I like cried when that happened. I was so sad. And I don't know how to explain the bond thing other than, she had to have died.
Yeah, exactly. Like basically there's
not this.
It's not like with Tom where I totally knew he had lived because he's like the Gandalf of the situation. I was like, oh, he died in the same way as Gandalf. He's going to come back. But with Moiraine, there's like proof in the form of the bond breaking that she totally died. And then there's the whole letter thing that she sent that basically outlines that she knew she was going to die, et cetera, et cetera. And so I think that unless there's some sort of situation where she had to, for some reason, have everyone think she was dead, then she's probably really dead, basically. I don't know. If she isn't...
I mean, she's been through a red doorway before. It wasn't this one, but the one that was in Tyr. Yeah, I think there was one in Tyr that she went through, the first red doorway. And, I mean, when she went through that to get answers to her questions and came back out, like, nothing happened to her bond with Lan. So, like, this is obviously a little bit different. I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, it seems pretty insane.
Yeah, and I thought it was interesting that I really wish, I don't think, we never saw what Moiraine sees in Ruidian or Ruidion. I don't know how to say it. But when she's in that city and she goes through the arches and stuff, like, we never see what she saw in there. And I wish that we did. Like, I wish I knew what she had found out. Because obviously it impacted this decision that she made. And I thought it was funny that she basically said, like, if I didn't do this, you were either going to become her lover, Lanfear's lover, or what was the other one? She was going to kill you or something. I don't remember. But those were two options that Moiraine was definitely not willing to let happen.
Yeah.
And Rand has this thing about not killing women, and it drives me insane. I'm like, get over it. He's trying to kill you.
Yeah, like what was up with that? Because I do remember that coming up, and the scene where he totally could have killed Lanfear, but he totally was just like, I can't kill a woman, bloody bloody. But it's like, dude, really? Like, she's kind of evil.
Yeah. Well, so part of it is it's just like their culture, I think, because Matt's the same way. Like, he doesn't want to hurt women if he can avoid it. But at the same time, I think Rand goes even deeper, because I think it has to do with Lews Therin and how he accidentally killed his wife when he like went crazy with the power. So I think that's playing a part in it as well.
Yeah, I think you might be right about that for sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably more like subconscious or whatever. Which I guess, speaking of Lews Therin, we definitely got to see a little more of like inside Rand's head and like Lews Therin's voice coming up a few times. And something that I always wonder about when it comes to that is like how much of that is because he's Lose Theron Reborn, and how much of that is him like going crazy. It's really hard to separate the two. Like, we don't really know.
Yeah, that's true. It's pretty weird.
Yeah. Someone in the chat said that they like reading the viewings Min has during their reread, because a lot of the viewings take many books to happen. And that's definitely true. Like, every single thing that Min has seen is important and will come up at some point in the series. And a lot of times it takes a while for it to like come to fruition. So if you go back and reread like the very first book, or I don't know, I think it was in the first book, but there will be clues of like the trio, or I guess all four of them, like Rand and the three women. There will be clues about that that it's going to happen between the three of them throughout the whole series, up before this point. So like, if you know what to look for, then you start to put some of those pieces together. Well, that's and like when she had all of the viewings about the tower and like what was going to happen there, like all of that stuff comes true. And if you go back and reread those sections after you know like what's coming, it's so cool to see all these little Easter eggs. So Min's viewings are definitely a really fun part of rereading.
Yeah, that is super interesting, like how well thought out the whole series is, to the point where like several books in advance that was already like
it's crazy.
Yeah,
I don't know how he did it. Like, it's insane. I mean, but that's one of my reasons for loving the series so much and loving to reread it, because you just pick up on so many more things. Someone in our Goodreads group said that they reread the series every year. I was like, wow. Damn, that's intense.
Crap.
Yeah.
I can't even imagine reading the whole series every year. Like, that's crazy. Wow.
I know. I mean, it's going to take us, with one book a month, it's going to take more than a year to read it.
Yeah, exactly. And it pretty much, like, I haven't even been able to get to 2 in a month. Like,
I know. I remember when we started this, you're like, well, I might read, more than 1 in a month, because you do read a ton. But I mean, if you were to read more than 1 in a month, you just wouldn't be able to read as many other things as you wanted to. So it's good to space them out a little bit.
Obviously there are other things that come up that I want to read. So it's like, yeah, it would really have to be like the only 2 things that I read all month, and I'd have to be listening to the audiobook and the actual book with me, and then just starting from where the audiobook left off and all kinds of stuff. It's right. Because already, like, that's mainly what I do is I listen to the audiobook on my way to and from work, and then I just like make sure that when I'm reading the actual book, I like leave off at a part where I can find in the audiobook so that it'll be on a chapter beginning, all that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, I tried to get through the whole book in 2 weeks, and I couldn't do it. I ended up in the last 2 or 3 days of that second week picking up another book, because I needed a little more variety. I mean, as much as I like love the series, like all I read, I need a little more variety.
Yeah, pretty much.
And I've been reading like 5 to 6 books a month for the past couple of months, but that's definitely going to slow down now that I'm like read these since, the last one I read was like in December, November or something. So like trying to keep up with the read along now is going to change how much I read in a month, because these books are so big.
Yeah, it's true. iPod is like sticking her head into my empty cup. There's like nothing else in there. And she's totally sticking her head in there. Like, there's water, there's cat water over there that I just filled. Like, but she's like, no.
Did you have water in your cup, or was it like coffee or something?
It was water, yeah.
Oh.
There's nothing in it now, and she's still just sticking her head in it like she thinks something's in there. I don't know.
That's funny.
I just find that really funny for some reason, because it's like my water cup is sitting on the it's on my suitcase that I took to Book Expo. It's just because I'm just using that as like a little table right here, and I just put it there, and she just went up there, sat on the suitcase, and was like, oh, I wonder if there's water in here. Dunk. Like, I don't know. I just think that's funny.
Yeah, that's so funny. Pets are hilarious. So another thing that I thought was really funny that we haven't talked about yet. Oh, okay. Actually, that makes me think of two things. So it's Nynaeve and Elaine in their storyline. So when they get to some city and they run into Galad, that was really funny because, I mean, what are the odds that they're going to be in the same city at that time anyways? But also, I don't think we knew at this point that Galad, like what had happened to him, and that he had joined the White Cloaks. Did you know that already before you found out in that chapter?
No.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if they had revealed that yet, but I didn't think so.
No, I
so
don't.
Yeah, he has joined the White Cloaks, which is like a big surprise because he was training at the Tower, which obviously the Tower and the White Cloaks have never gotten along. So he kind of like switched teams. So seeing him there was really funny. And I mean, Elaine is like, yeah, sure, you can take us to Camelin. Let me think about it. Let me sleep on it. And then as soon as he leaves, she's like, okay, everybody get your stuff. We gotta go.
No, yeah, that whole part was kind of weird because it's like, yeah, they just like really want to just get away from him at that point.
Yeah. Well, because he's, now that he's a White Cloak, he could change his mind about them and turn them in. I don't think he will. I think they are overestimating like his sense of doing the right thing. I think always win, but I don't know. And then, so the next thing that I want to talk about was when they get to, I forget what city they were in, but in the city where Massima was there too. So all the Shinerans show up, which we haven't seen them in a couple of books either. But then how Nynaeve asks Massima, the prophet, and Galad to find them a boat, and then ends up starting a war, basically, when they both find a boat and then fight each other over it. That whole thing was so funny. I mean, obviously, it's not funny because people are fighting, and I mean, she took a bunch of refugees with her on the boat or whatever, I'm sure, because she felt like it was her fault that they were refugees now in the first place. But the fact that she like inadvertently started this fight between the White Cloaks and the prophet just by asking them to help her was funny. And the moment that she like realizes that, and Elaine also realizes what's going on, I couldn't stop laughing.
No, that was really weird. I agree.
Yeah. I think those are all the things that I wanted to talk about. Can you think of anything else that you wanted to talk about?
No, I think that was pretty much all I wanted to talk about as well.
Cool. Well, I am excited for the next book. Hopefully it isn't slower than this one. I mean, I didn't think, like I said, it was just the first half of the book that was a little bit slow. But then after like around 50%, things really started to pick up, and like reveals were, we didn't talk about Aviendha, and now we know that she's Black Aja. Were you surprised by that?
Not really, because I mean, I kind of feel like I almost expect just about any sister to be Black Aja at this point. Like, I was even thinking, like, my prediction was almost that Sister Alana from the Green Aja was going to be a Black Aja, just because that would be really unexpected, basically.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so, yeah.
It could be.
I mean, I think a lot of people would have expected that it was Elaine who was Black Aja, because she's the one who rebelled against Siuan, and I think she's been set up to be kind of like suspicious, and then we find out that actually it's Aviendha who is like controlling everything and is the Black Sister, because there's actually a part in the book where Mogadine tells like Liandrin and those Black Sisters that we have somebody in the tower who is a Black Sister who is in a position of power, who's helping us. And I think when people read that, I think on my first read I was thinking that they were talking about Elaine, but then like in the chapter after that is when we actually find out that it's Aviendha, and that was a pretty big surprise for me the first time I read it. So I've been like waiting for that to happen. I've known this whole time that she was Black Aja, and like seeing, it's just, this is one of those things that when you go through and you reread it and you know something, the characters in a totally different light and like what they do, you see that so differently.
Yeah, I guess that kind of makes sense because, yeah, Elida definitely was built up to be way more suspicious and all of that. So, yeah, so I definitely see what you mean. Like, I would have thought it was her more.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I still kind of hope that at some point Nynaeve winds up being the Amyrlin or something like that, because I seriously, I predict that like one of our main characters probably would be, but I think that Nynaeve would be a really good Amyrlin for some reason.
Yeah, I think she could be. She's got to get over this block for her channeling, though. Like, she's still blocked. She can't always channel when she wants to. She has to be angry, which is always makes me laugh when she's like purposely like trying to make herself angry. She's like amping herself up so that she can channel, which is really funny.
Yeah,
yeah, she's definitely got to get over that at some point.
She's not even a full Aes Sedai at this point, but I mean, like,
yeah. Well, and now that the tower's broken and the people in Salidar, there was that one accepted who got sort of raised, but she's also not all the way in Aes Sedai because Terangriel is to like make it official or whatever. So like until this group of, I mean, it's not just Blue Aja, but they're mostly blue, and then other people who have left the tower. Until they take over the tower again, they're not going to be able to implement like full sisters, really.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, I was kind of also surprised how the tower seemed, like, even after everything that happened in the last book, the tower seemed mostly the same, except that it was just, being run by different people. Like, I was expecting it to be completely, I don't know, like, I was expecting it to be like Hogwarts in the 7th book where they go back and suddenly it's like, oh, it's not even defense against the dark arts anymore. The class is just the dark arts, and we practice on the on other students who like did something bad or whatever. The people who did or whatever. So I was, for some reason, I was expecting like the tower, the White Tower in this book, to be more like having had a complete like makeover for like being run by the dark side almost, but it was mostly the same. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, and I guess that just speaks to the fact that a lot of the sisters who are still in the tower, they're not necessarily bad or evil. The tower split because people thought they were doing the right thing. So like the people who stayed in the tower thought that they were doing the right thing, and the people who left thought that they were doing the right thing. But that doesn't mean that either of the sides are like evil or anything, except for Elvira, and obviously she's evil. But anybody else, they're just doing what they think is right, and I think that just adds to the, complexity of the situation.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we can call it.
Okay.
I had a lot of fun talking about it, and yeah.
Yeah, I'm excited for this.
Yeah, me too. I guess we can just end the live stream for now. Bye, guys.
Bye, guys.